So when I was younger, one of the most influential movies I saw was The Last Samurai, and it was a powerful, inspirational movie, not just a an action flick. And a lot of people think it's kind of a it's kind of a man's movie because it's, but women like it. Women like it too. It's because there's a whole lot in it that is deeply inspirational and powerful. It's not just an action thriller, but there is a whole lot of deep ethos thrown around, which is something that us guys tend to like. I'll be honest. I If I tear up in a movie, it's usually because of some deep ethos happening, some moment of great courage or great sacrifice. And in this film, there's a lot of that. A lot of people have knocked this film in modern times because I think they just don't understand it. A lot of people say that it's. I've heard the worst things is that it's a part of neo-colonial and whitewashed, and that's just there's silliness. Obviously, I don't understand. I mean, number one, in it, the American character goes to Japan and he learns and he grows and heals from his experience there. He also helps trade and inspire uh, Katsumoto, the rebel leader, in order to be inspired to be who he is. So there's a give and a take. There's a positive and a negative for each of them. Positive for each of them, but there's nothing about it that is an American comes and civilizes another people. It's the opposite. Uh, there's a whole lot of respect between the two encounters, and honestly, I think that they treat the Americans as rather brash and the Americans are treated rather unflatteringly. However, there's a whole lot of other things about this movie that are so good. And I mean, number one, also number two, it's also based off of history. There is actually a real character that was kind of like Nathan Algren, who went to Japan. It was actually a Frenchman named Jules Brunet. Jules Brunet actually did pretty much what Nathan Algren did in this film. And he went to Japan and actually helped Saigon Takamori rebel against the emperor at the time, and in the name of the emperor, against modernization. So there's a this scene is one of the most powerful scenes from Last Samurai, and it's so inspirational that I actually used it to teach a lesson once at a church or the youth group about a Christian life and a godly life, and what's the best life to live as an individual, considering what we know about our lives and about our relationship with ultimate reality, God, those types of things. So it's just so moving, and you just have to see it. This scene, and I'm just going to show you the scene. It basically uh, Nathan Algren ends up picking up a kendo stick, and after Ujio comes after he's picked up the kendo stick, and Ujio confronts him, tells him to put it down because at this point Nathan's still kind of a prisoner, and he's not going to show him respect. And he says, you have to put down the weapon. And basically Nathan stands up to him and demands his respect. And this is interesting, but in Japanese culture, when you're defeated, you're defeated. You need to know you're defeated, and you need to accept your shame and humble yourself. And the only way to avoid that is to go into death. And Nathan defies all of those ideas. He doesn't humble himself. He does in a different way. He basically does. He yields himself to his ethos, to his way of living, and he's not going to break down. The spiritual implication is very powerful. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to go over that at the end of this video and talk about everything that means, but I want you to see the video for right now so I can stop blabbering about it and you can just watch it and enjoy.
Nicely done. 小さいがなかなか筋がいい。You tried. Fly.
So neat. Tom Cruise's character knows nothing about how to fight with a samurai sword yet. He's completely outmatched if he gets confronted, and he knows this. Put down the weapon. Put it down. He expects him to be done. There's just a whole lot going on here. The woman watching is the ex-wife, or widow of Katsumoto's brother, who was actually killed by Nathan in the battle. He was taken prisoner. It's just of course, the little boy is her son. Whew. I mean, there's just so obviously there's so much going on there. And the character of Nathan Algren does not stop. And one of the things that I pointed to back then was that we do not stop. And there is no point at which we say it's not worth it to fight anymore. The Eastern concept of honor is that if you cannot, because your honor and your family name to worry about, if you cannot go into battle and win, if you can't pick a fight and win, you dishonor your family by losing. And so there's no point in fighting. So if you've lost and you have a way out, then take the way out and and yield. Either that or die fighting, one of the two. And so everything is about the honor of the family, and it's an honor shame society. And there's a whole lot of intellectual discussion in academia about honor shame societies, but we won't go into all that. It's just, but when you live your life for a noble purpose, for an eternal God, for ultimate reality, there is never shame in defeat. And you can listen to motivational speech after motivational speech about people who went their entire lives and never gave up, and eventually they broke through. And obviously a lot of people don't make it that far. Not everyone is Elon Musk or Arnold Schwarzenegger, or Bill Gates or someone like that. They don't always get to that end. But we have to remember that everyone who did get to that end got to that end because they didn't give up. So the people that were given that on a silver platter don't handle it well. The people that maintain it are the people that handle it well. They keep trying. There's so many failures on the way to victory. And even if and this is what I love about the scene, is that Nathan loses. he never actually wins. He never actually comes out on top. He ends up being the one that gets defeated. And what's so neat about it is that he goes until he cannot go anymore, until his very last breath. He is right on it. He continues to express who he is. He stands up for the noble cause. And when you are in the hands of the Creator, when you're in the hands of ultimate reality, and you are certain of your purpose in life, and you're certain you're doing the noble thing and the right thing, there is no point that you stop. The only point you stop is when you're no longer noble, when you're no longer doing the right thing. That's the point you stop. But it is the path itself that is noble. There's not victory. Victory doesn't make you noble. Victory may hand power to some people, and that's history shows that. But victory does not equal nobility. Everybody knows that. There's plenty of unnoble people that emerge victorious. That obviously the big thing there is just the power in it, just the power and the faith to keep going and to live this life no matter what. One of the big points that I've made throughout life is that you have to live life no matter what. And this existential idea that, well, we don't really know if anything matters or it really makes sense. And it's like in my depressed teenage years, there were times that I would often question, like, is it really even worth living? Is it worth doing anything? And to be honest, it really doesn't matter. You got this life to live. You might as well live it. You already have an impact. It's not like you can leave this world and end your impact. You already have an impact with everything you do. So why would you choose to leave it or stop trying? You've already got an impact. You've already got a life to live. You might as well live it until you can't live it anymore. You might as well continually try to get better, continue to try to get stronger, continue to live for the noble thing. And back in that last samurai scene, Ujio tries to. It's really, there's so much communication non-verbally. He's telling him, like, give up. There's no point. There's no point in you standing up to me. You can't. It's pointless to try. And yet he continues until he can no longer even move. He's physically incapacitated. And that's the kind of thing, like, that we have to embody, that heart and that spirit that, especially if you're a believer and you have a relationship with God, God has you. He's got your back. And even if you go into destruction, it's like you went into destruction with a noble purpose. And even in death, God has you. You should continue to fight the noble fight regardless. But you're not, it's not a duty, honor, shame sort of a thing. It's not about that. It's about the good fight. So obviously there are times you pick your battles and you don't just fight every battle until you fall apart, but you continue and you continue until you are unable to continue. And in the times that I'm losing strength, that I've just gotten depressed and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't fight. There's so many people fighting against me and things are going wrong. It's just, I have to remember that the actual pointlessness is in not trying. I'm already trying. I mean, as soon as I was put in this world, I began to try. It's like you are designed to try. You're designed to affect and influence. You can't not do that. So what kind of influence are you going to be? That's the decision. Are you going to be someone who yields to ignoble things, to bad ideas, to evil? Or are you going to stand up and you're going to influence those things? What's cool is at the end of that, at the end of all of this Last Samurai movie, Ujio really respects Nathan Alburn's character, and Nathan Alburnn respects Ujio. They really, even if Ujio doesn't necessarily like him, he really respects him. He respects his spirit. And there's a lot of people that the only way that they learn what is good is by being confronted with it, because they just aren't listening. They won't see nobility until they're confronted with it. It doesn't have to be for destruction. It's not a fight to harm people or hurt people. It's a fight to help them realize. That's the reason why martyrdom is so powerful. It's in the days of the early Christian church, they would kill dozens of people in a city, and then around them, hundreds of people would be converted because they would be influenced by that spirit. They would finally see the nobility when people were willing to lay down their lives and continue the noble quest, continue that noble course of action. You know, and there's actually a billion more things I could say about that, but that's what I'm going to leave you with. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, share it with your friends or with somebody else. And it's just me honestly taking a look at these two pieces of pop culture and relaying the deep spiritual consequences or messages. And I really hope I get a chance to share more of that kind of a thing. Thanks a lot, and you have a great day.